Hi everyone, this is Lori with 12 Paw Designs. In today's video, we're going to be working with heat transfer vinyl to make this. I'm feeling kind of IDGF-ish today. We're going to actually load it up in our Cricut software. So you can see here, we're going to launch Cricut. Then we're going to upload our file. So we're going to click on upload, and then we're going to insert our image, browse, and we're going to go and look for our SVG file. Once we find our SVG file, we want to open that file up, and then we make sure everything looks good, and then we click OK. Then you select your file, and then you do the import. Now, you're going to notice that there's three different cutting options in here, and you can pick and choose which one you want. You can hide the ones you don't, and then grab the one you want, and then size it accordingly. I like mine large on in the front, so I went to 11 inches across, and I also included an offset. So if you'd like to put this actually on top of some more heat transfer vinyl, you can. If you don't, you can just hide it and get rid of it and delete it. I also went in here, and one of the things I like to do, as you saw, is I actually like to flip my image over horizontally before I go in here when I'm working with heat transfer vinyl, because that way I don't have to worry about forgetting to mirror my image. We've all been there. It's happened to all of us, and this gives me the opportunity, if I don't flip it there, it gives me the opportunity to go and flip it inside the cutting options. So I come in here and I choose heat transfer vinyl. I'm using smooth for the offset, and I'm using glitter for the top. Remember, you can use this, you can put glitter on smooth, but you cannot put something on the glitter side of it. So I'm actually going to be putting the glitter on top of the smooth. I'm going to go and select the colors that I want. It sorted it to the mattes for me. And then once I have everything selected, and again, if I forgot to mirror it, I can actually mirror it here. Once I have everything set, I can send it to the cutting machine, and then let it go ahead and cut my images for me, my file for me. So once that's going, I'm going to go let it cut, and I'll be back showing you how to weed it from there. One of the things when you put your heat transfer vinyl down, you want to make sure that, I like to think of it the pretty side down. So you can see here I have the glitter side so that it's kind of dull looking to me, and so I put that side down first, and then I go ahead and cut it. Once that's all cut, I like to test before I pull it out. You can actually see in the middle of the D there, I actually pull the center out. Before I pull it out of the cutting machine, I actually go through and pull out the vinyl just to make sure that everything cut properly. Because if it didn't cut properly, I can actually leave it in the machine and go back and send it back through again. And then I'm not wasting any vinyl. And that's who likes to waste any vinyl. And you can see here that when I was pulling up a little bit, I pulled up a little too much, and then I just used my spatula and I flattened it right back out again. So no big deal. So once you have everything pulled out, then you can go ahead and weed out all your negative items that you don't want for the heat transfer, and set those aside. One of the things I like to do too with the glitter is, you'll notice that I actually grab a hold of it and I kind of roll it in my hands back and forth. And what this does is it actually helps me see the edges of the seams, especially on the dark colors like that. And so I do that, and so that I can actually see where the lines are, because it's really hard to see and know where they are and stuff. And so then sometimes I'll pull the centers, but with this one being a little darker, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm actually going to pull on the outside. One thing to remember with heat transfer vinyl is that it pulls away fairly easy, and it doesn't stick back to itself again. So you can actually see that I'm just grabbing I got it started with my pin pen. You can use your tweezers or your fingers even, and you just start pulling away the vinyl until you get exactly what you want on there. So you can see that it's weeding away pretty easily, and I just pull everything that I don't need. I'll actually end up cutting all the excess off too, so I can, before I get too far, so I can save that for a future project, because I do try and conserve as much as I can on these. Next up, I'm actually going to weed out my my lighter pink color. The glitter vinyl that I was using was actually a little bit thinner than the thicker blue ones, and it actually cut away on my transfer sheet. It was still usable, still salvageable, but I just had to make sure that I was a little more careful when pulling everything away, because the plastic actually from the transfer was actually starting to pull up. So you can actually see I had a little bit of a struggle, but again, I just a little patience and I worked right through and pulled it all off. And then once it was all off, it was no big deal to go ahead and weed out the centers. So they just pulled right out. And again, so like I said, it cut the transfer sheet as well, because it was just a thinner glitter transfer. But again, it was all still usable without any issues. Okay. So once those are done, then I was going to take and weed off the offset. And if you notice down here, when I was pulling off this sheet, I like to put my material down and pull the mat away from it, because it actually helps it so that things lay flatter, they don't tear and things like that. So it's a lot easier to do. And here I'm just going through and I'm weeding out my smooth heat transfer vinyl. Now this is a little thinner because it is a smooth transfer vinyl, and so it just took a little bit longer because it was just a little bit stickier, but it just worked through and pulled everything away. And again, don't be afraid to cut parts of it off if you need to, or pull at it just to make sure you can get everything, because heat transfer vinyl is really, really easy to weed and everything like that. But if you want to make sure that you're not pulling away at the sections that you don't want, you can just use your scissors and trim that away. So things will just come right off and away you go. You get everything done. Make sure you weed out the centers. When I'm weeding, I also a lot of times like to have the image that I'm weeding up on my like my laptop, or a picture of it, just to make sure that I'm getting everything, because the last thing you want to do is when you go to press it onto your shirt or your bag or wherever you're putting this, you want to make sure that you don't have any extra pieces showing. So you can actually see there, I was kind of comparing it to the picture to make sure I was getting everything that I needed to get. So I kind of like to have that up just to make sure that all of a sudden I don't miss anything, and then later on have to try and remove it from the garment. So we'll just finish weeding this up, and then once we're done with it, we will take it over to the press and we'll actually press it onto our shirt. You can actually see I have a little helper here helping me. That was Lemire, and he always loves to craft with Mom. So now we come over to the heat press, and a lot of times I'll fold it down the center to find my center seam, but because if this was a hoodie, it was easier to find it because the center seam was right there. And then I'm going to take my offset and I'm folding it in half to find where my seam is. Of course, I have to get all my little ripples out of my shirt, even though I gave it a slight press, making sure everything is smooth here. I'm then going to take my image and I'm actually going to fold it in half to find where my center point is. And this will help line it up so that I can see where the center is on the shirt and I see where the center is on the image. I then go approximately 3 fingers down, 3 inches down from the center, and make sure that everything is there. And then it does have a little stick to it, so I'll just push it down on my shirt. I'll put my Teflon on it, which I just keep on my press, and I press it down. Now, I don't like to press this one down too much, so I tried it for a second or two. It wasn't enough, so I had to give it a little bit of more. I didn't lock the press fully down, so that was part of it. So this time I locked it down, gave it 2 seconds, and then I just peeled the transfer sheet off. Okay, and the reason why is that it'll shrink a little bit, and I don't want that to happen because I'm putting my words on it. So then I'm going to put my IDGF on it, and while I'm doing that, I'm also going to lay the flourishes down as well. As long as your transfer sheets do not touch, you can actually do them at the same time. So I'm actually just doing them at the same time, putting them on, and then I'll press it again. Now again, you only want to lock it down for a couple of seconds, just enough for it to release from the transfer sheet, and then you release it and then pull them off, because you will have one final press once you put your next set of words down. Okay, so I'm pulling that transfer sheet off, I'm pulling the flourishes ones off, and now I'm cutting apart the other transfer sheet because I was trying to conserve my glitter vinyl so I can use it again. So I just cut it consolidated together, and I just cut it apart, and now I'm just laying it down and lining it up on the shirt. So I have the top one down, I'm going to put the ISH on. And then I did have to cut the T off on today, and that was just because of the transfer sheet had cut on me in the cutter and everything, which isn't a big deal. So I just cut the T off and lined everything up, and it was just fine after that. Sometimes you have to do those types of things, but again, it was just because of the way it cut on my cutting machine. It was 100% salvageable, no waste, no worries, so life is good. And then once that's done, we're going to put it down, and then this time we're going to do it for the full 15 seconds. And we're just going to let that go. And then I'm moving the camera so you can see a little better. Sorry about that movement, guys. So I lifted it up, and here I'm moving the transfer sheets for the words. And there you go. That is our heat transfer. So you can actually see it here. That's our heat transfer. I'm feeling kind of IDGF-ish today. And we did it on layered vinyl. And here is our final project, all set and ready to go. And again, you're going to find the 3 images in there. You can also, for male, remove the flourishes. There's also different PNG files out there as well if you're doing sublimation or anything else like that. Enjoy the files. Check me out later. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed doing these types of videos for you. And check out my next blog later on. Thanks. Bye-bye.